Hey folks, in the last video we went through and set up our GitHub account and started tracking our code. In this video we're going to learn about variables and how to manage changing data. Go ahead and navigate back to the math folder and then open math.py in Vim. And now, before we continue, I want to mention something called syntax highlighting. You see, thus far, it's been a little bit difficult to read our code because it's all just been one color text. However, with syntax highlighting, keywords in Python will be differently colored and differently formatted so that it's easier to read the code. In normal mode, type :syntax space on, and that turns on syntax highlighting. And now, let's continue. I'm going to re-execute the program again so we can see the output. And now let's talk variables. So far, everything has been typed directly into the code, and this is called hard coding. Hard coding is generally bad because every single time you need to handle new data or a new scenario, you need to go back and modify the code. Using our program as an example, what if I wanted to, calculate with different numbers? Well, I'd have to go back and rewrite all this code, right? And so we have the concept of variables. Variables, as the name implies, are things that can be changed. Let's see how we can use them. In this top line right here, I am printing hello world. Let's try saying hello to something other than the world. As of right now, I'd have to go in and I'd have to modify world, change it to something else like Bob, right? But let's use a variable instead. Let's create a new line above here and then type subject is equal to and then world in quotes. In programming, the equal sign is called the assignment operator. Here, I am creating a variable called subject and I'm setting it equal to world. And now what we're going to do is we're going to replace world inside this string right here with the variable instead. Remember, escape to normal mode to move. Go ahead and go down to the beginning of world, hit the letter V. This puts you into visual mode in Vim, and then hit the letter L a couple times to move a few characters to the right until you've completely highlighted world, and then hit D to delete. See, you're still learning the keyboard shortcuts, but when you know the keyboard shortcuts, it is super fast to code in Vim. Now go ahead and type I to enter insert mode, and now we are going to type open curly brace, subject, close curly brace. This tells Python, hey, I want you to insert the value of this variable subject here. Finally, one last thing. Go ahead and get back to normal mode, and then go to the very beginning of this string before the first quote. Go into insert mode there and then insert an F. That F is short for format. It tells Python that, hey, you need to format in the value of a variable inside this string. If you were to do this without the F in front, it would literally print brace subject brace, and that's not what we want. All right, that should be good for now. Go ahead and write your changes and then execute your code. And then if you look at the output, you'll see it still says hello world. But if we go back and we change world to Bob, and then we write our changes, execute again, you'll now see that the program says hello Bob. Good, we are now printing out values based on this variable rather than writing it directly into the print statement. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, we're still having to change the value manually in the code, right? Well, that's because we haven't learned how to dynamically fetch data yet. When you write real applications, you're typically fetching data from a database, you're typically taking input data from a user, etc. We haven't learned it yet, but we will. And so now, as an exercise, we're going to go down to the operator section and then we're going to replace every single instance of 5 with a variable. I'll do the first line with you as an example. Just above my first print statement here, I'm going to create a variable again called num, and I'm going to set it equal to 5. And now down here, same thing as above, put an F in front of the string for formatting, and then replace the 5 with brace num brace. Do that for both of them. But when you get outside of the string, notice here, this portion is not in quotes. And subsequently, it's already processed as code. I don't have to have braces here. I can just replace 5 with num directly. And so now, using this information you've just learned, go ahead and go through and change all of the print statements to use num, the variable, instead of 5. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, folks, we're back. Go ahead and write your changes and execute your code, and you'll see it print out the same stuff as before. But if we go back and we change this 5 to an 8, we rewrite and then re-execute again, we'll now see the output adjust to the new values of these variables. And there you have it, folks. This is using variables. This is a really trivial and kind of stupid example, to be honest with you, but that's because we're still learning the basics, right? But when you're writing real applications, you can start to understand why variables are so important. Take Twitter, for example. Different people tweet different things. That's not different code running. It's the same exact code. who sees the tweet, what the tweet says, who it's posted under, that all changes based on variables. Alright, so to wrap up this video, let's go ahead and keep on solidifying our Git chops. Go ahead and exit out of Vim if you're using only one terminal. Go ahead and do Git Status, and now you should see that your math.py has been modified. You can actually type a new command here, git diff, and it will actually show you line by line changes that were made to this file. The red lines with the minus in front were lines that were removed, and then the plus green lines are the lines that were added. When you're done looking at that, tap Q to quit, and then we're going to do the same thing we did last time. Git add math.py. You still have to add the modifications you made or stage them in order to commit them. And now we're going to commit git commit -m, quote, remember, a good commit message, I'm going to say replaced hard-coded values with variables, enter, and then finally git push to finalize these changes and push them or upload them to GitHub. Great work, folks. We are cruising along here learning about the basics. In the next video, we are going to learn about conditional statements or how programs dynamically make decisions and behave differently.